everybody, this is Peggy for Crop Stop, and today I want to show you how I made this card using some stamps and some die cuts and some markers. Is that too cool? Let me show you how I did that. Some of the things that we're going to use, I'm going to come back to my charming Christmas stamps right there, and we're actually going to use the little heart one. That's what we're going to use to make our background. We're also going to use the Just Right stamps. This one's Peace on Earth set. It has 4 stamps. I'm going to show you how to use that. We're going to use some die cuts from Nestabilities. Of course, you know I love those. And my all-time favorite ink pads, Memento, and some of their markers. Well, let me clear off some stuff here, and we'll get started. Now, what I want to do is show you how you can use these stamps for other than just making the tags or the purpose that they were designed to do. I know you probably can't tell, and I'm going to show you how we did this. These circles in the background is how I came up with the design for the back, and this is a stamp. Now, let me show you how I did that. Here's the stamp. I'm going to use the Memento, and this color is Bamboo Leaves. And I'm just going to ink it up, and I'm just going to stamp all over this white piece of cardstock. And I don't care if they touch each other. It doesn't really matter. And I just want to totally fill it up. Now, let me turn that around and do that little spot right there. And that spot right there. Okay, now let me put this away. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little circle from my Nestabilities. Let me bring in my Cuttlebug girl here. She's a bit heavy. And for this one, remember we use an A plate, a B plate, and a C plate. And I'm going to line up my die cut just over a section that I want to cut out. And I'll do this however many times it takes to fill up my card front. We won't do every one, but just to give you an idea how I did that. So there is one of my pieces. Let me do one more just so we can put them down on paper and show you how you assemble it. Again, A plate, B plate, C plate, and cut. Let's move her out of the way for a minute. There we go. And there it is. Then, there are my two. Oh, get a hold of those. There are my 2 pieces. Then what I do is I take a contrasting green and I just start adhering these all over my card. Let me do one more thing. I forgot I did this. I actually probably did it before too. I'm going to use one of the applicators with a sponge and go ahead and just ink up a little bit and give it a little more color to it. Just like that. Real simple. Remember, you start on the mat and you come into the card stock so that you get that blended look. All right, let's put that over there. Now, let me just bring my ATG gun in here. Put a couple swipes of adhesive on it. Now, the other thing that you can do once you get this all adhered with full of circles, you can then run it through your Cuttlebug with a different folder and get like a little embossing to it. I would probably start doing it like this. And then I'm going to fill that whole card base up. See here I did? That's what all those white circles are. It doesn't look like that when you're looking on camera. Probably it looks like the paper. It's a really awesome way to use your stamps other than just to make your tag. So there's step 1. So we'd go ahead and we'd fill that up. Now let's work on this piece right here. Let me clear some things off. We'll be right back. Now what I did, I went ahead and did all of my circles so that you could see what it's going to look like, how pretty it is when you get it all finished. And I just put them randomly so that every part's kind of, you know, it's kind of touching. Then on the edge, you want to go off of the edge to make sure that it looks like it's one big piece. Okay, so that's kind of my base. Now let's concentrate on this piece here in the center, our main focal point. I'm going to be using the Just Right Peace on Earth stamp. And I don't know if you're familiar with these. They come with a little block. You have to have a little block. But look at this. It just peels and goes right in those little grooves there. So there's my outline. So in other words, on these stamps there's 4 different borders that you could choose from, and then there's 4 different verses that you could pick. And all you do, and there's such a cool way of storing them, you peel that right off, put it right in the ridges, and make sure now that you press it down really well, because I've a couple times gotten a little in a hurry. I know that's hard to believe, and didn't get it pushed in there, and then my stamp wasn't exactly straight. So let me get this one pushed back in here. See, that's what I mean. You got to really take your time and put it in there right. Oh, for heaven's sakes, Peggy, put it in there right. There we go. Okay, now what I'm going to use again is my Memento Bamboo Leaf. Bamboo. I say that all the time. It's bamboo. We're going to stamp up our ink all over our stamp here. Also, remember, I'm going to be using my stamp pad. So there we go. That looks pretty inked up. And I'm just going to stamp kind of in this, well, maybe I'll do it on the side Y-ways paper. And you just stamp down, press, and lift. Oh, didn't have it all the way in there. Well, now that's a good thing I want to show you. Here's what happens if you don't have your stamp all the way in the ridge. Alright, let me get another hunk of paper and I'll be right back. Alright, I've readjusted there and got that down in the groove where it's supposed to be. I've inked her up. Now let's get a good impression of this one, she says. Alright. The words are kind of tiny, so I like to push a lot to make sure I get a really good, oh, very beautiful. Oh, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is take our nestability die, and I chose this one, and we're going to cut that out. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, let me bring her back in here. And some folks, like I've said in the past, they like to put a little piece of tape on there to make sure it doesn't slide. I don't always do that. Sometimes I do if I'm real picky, but I'm usually not very picky. Put that down on there, and we'll roll her through. Now, again, you know, you could emboss the edge of this, but I want to ink it up. So, get that off of there. Need these. So, what I'm going to do is to put this back on here, like so. So I get those little lines lined back up. There we go. And then I'm going to bring in my applicator. I'm not going to put a lot more ink on there, but I just want to give a little shading here. And again, just go right over your image. This just gives a little bit of dimension, and I love dimension on cards. Before embossing folders, I don't know what I used to do because I love embossing folders and getting the dimension. Look in there. And look at that. Is that too stinking cool? Oh my word. Alright, then all I did, excuse me, was to bring in some of the little memento markers, and I'm just going to do a couple little reds. I would do this all around, obviously. And took the green and colored in a little bit of the leaves just to give it, again, that little bit of dimensional look to it. That goes pretty easy. You don't really have to do that part. Then I would take that, put it in the center of here, and I would use foam tape. Now you can use Viva Pearl pens, and if you want to put a little bling around there on my card, I went ahead and used bling that I already had available that Crop Stop had sent me. So you would trim that down, put this on your red, and this in the center, and don't forget to add some of that beautiful ribbon. Look at how great that matches from Crop Stop, and make yourself a bow. I'm telling you girls, this is just the easiest way to make a card and to use your supplies more than just one way. Let's get our money's worth out of this stuff after all. So don't forget, there's our card. Stop over to Crop Stop and get yourself some of the Just Right stamps, some nestability die cuts, and make sure to tell them Peggy sent you. Bye!